Record. It is. All right, we are here, our JS coaching team. Jocelyn Sokol to my left, your right. And we have been doing a podcast with really interesting people, but we ran out of interesting people. So, no, just kidding. So today we are just honored to have a good friend of mine. I'll call him a young man because he's still young in my world, who I had the pleasure of coaching. One of, with not the best. I mean, this guy was just a terror at the middle linebacker spot. He could tackle, he could catch a ball, but more importantly than that, he was the ultimate leader as a young man. And those leadership skills took him through an illustrious college career and then on to be a normal person as a teacher. You see, teaching is very hard, but the world of being a principal of one of the biggest high schools in Bergen County is beyond. I coached a basketball team. I was ahead of 40 kids, and that meant 80 parents. This guy's got 2,000 people coming to a party every day, and he's got to try to make 50% of them happy. So I've seen Tommy in action. I could go on and on because as a Ridgewood resident with 4 generations, I know the principal of your high school is a key player. I know it. I know it's true. The leader is the person that directs and creates the culture. I know Tommy. I know him well. We are so lucky. We are so fortunate to have a guy who lives in town, who loves this community, and then has the courage and strength to make tough decisions over the easy ones, regardless of what other people think. Last part, and I'll stop talking. Leaders, true leaders, who are prepared, who have done the work before challenges come, thrive in these situations. They're hard, but if you haven't been working beforehand, if you hadn't set that structure of who you are, sure, this is tough, but you are standing out, Tom. We are so just so grateful for you. It would be easy to say, throw the towel in, but Rocky wouldn't throw it in. I know you've been staggering, but you just won't fall down. So at that, I'll leave it at that. I don't want to overtalk, but I could go on for an hour about you.
I appreciate those comments, Coach. I think the world of you, and I really appreciate that. Thank you so much.
Yeah. Okay. So Jocelyn, want to start
off? So hi, Tom.
Hi.
Is Jim the only one who calls you Tommy, or is that?
Coach Johnson calls me that too. I guess it's just a football thing.
Okay. So what would you say has been the most challenging thing for you personally during COVID-19?
It's trying to manage everything at the same time. So I was just saying that right now we have 3 different task force of administrators. You know, we're trying to plan out the 4th quarter of the school year, where not just for school, for everybody. Then we're also trying to plan all the events, the senior awards, prom, graduation, and all that. And then we have another task force that's working on what does summer school look like and what does reentry to next year's school year look like. And those are very complex questions and answers. And in some cases, we have 3 alternatives because I don't know what the governor's guidelines are going to be. And we also don't know if there's going to be a second wave and how we're going to be prepared for that anytime during the year. So we got to look at our what we did well and what we need to improve upon from this semester, and then put those into place next year to make the school year even better. Because it's going to be some kind of hybrid next year. But again, we don't know. And we might not know until the last week or 2 of August of what next year is going to look like. But in the more immediacy, it's been a lot of sleepless nights, a lot of meetings. We've been meeting with the police, state officials, other principals in the county to try and make the best decisions for all our seniors and try to make this senior year, as memorable as we can, given the current circumstances.
So Tom, you're living in a high stakes environment. You're in hostile ground, really tough, as you just alluded to. You haven't been sleeping well. Your immune system is crucial that you don't get sick. You're around people you're forced to. So how do you manage trying to take care of yourself as a leader and make time for that in the midst of nonstop external noise coming at you?
It's a great point. I got to give a lot of credit to my family. My wife, Maggie, really looks out for me, takes care of me, and I have a great family, whether it be my brother-in-laws and my nephews and nieces. So everybody's, looking out. I get some positive emails and texts from them as well. So there's just a lot of love there, and that's where the foundation is. But besides that, it's everything that goes back to what we've been taught here at Ridgewood with our coaches or with our staff, what we've been teaching with our wellness department. It's about getting out and walking. It's about eating correctly. It's, not imbibing in different things that you shouldn't be doing, and trying to keep a mental as well as a physical and spiritual healthy center and well-being. And it's difficult. It's very difficult under these circumstances, especially like you said, we're getting bombarded and we don't see a way out. And I do reflect upon the other challenging times that Ridgewood and Ridgewood High School have gone through. Right. We've been around since 1892. We've been through, World War I, World War II, Korea, Vietnam. We've had kids serve. We've had, unfortunately, students die. And this is just a new challenge for Ridgewood High School's steeped history. And the school, as well as our students, will survive as they have in the past. It's just one more part of our history going forward now.
Right.
Yeah. So how would you say it's been going? How has online school been going?
Yeah. Overall, it's been going extremely well. We've been getting a lot of compliments from parents as well as students. Unfortunately, you've been reading the Wall Street Journal just recently talked about Nebraska, Georgia, other schools around the country that are shutting down. They just quit and they shut school down 3 weeks early, a month early. I didn't know that was an option. I would have done that option a few weeks ago. But we made it work because I didn't know there was another option. And our teachers stepped up literally within 3 or 4 days. Our kids stepped up. And it's been working extremely well. It's not the same as being in person, working with our teachers and all that. Online is never going to replace that. However, the quality of education is still extremely high, and we're very proud of that fact, and we know that going forward, it's going to continue. I don't feel like our kids have dropped off in the level of their learning tremendously at all, and that's exciting. But going back to what Coach was saying a little bit earlier, it also comes back to the preparation. So 7 years ago, we went one-to-one with the computers, with the Chromebooks. Several years ago, we went with no substitutes. So we did more and more online learning. All of our teachers have been prepared for the past couple of years how to use Google Classroom. And we have tech coaches that are working with our teachers constantly now, but also for the past 6 years about how to get them up to speed. So all those things came together, and we were prepared for this. Now, we didn't know how it was going to look, but we were not caught unaware or, right, looking the other way. And I think that's one of the reasons why we're really succeeding.
That's great. So Tommy, yesterday this big letter came out that your name was on the bottom, that you endorsed a plan for graduation, for the prom, et cetera, et cetera. Tell us a little bit about how you came to that determination.
So again, talking to government officials, superintendents, county principals, we've all been going back and forth with the emails and Zoom meetings and all that. And then just talking about our own personal needs for Ridgewood, we came up with the best plan we felt possible. We don't know what the future is going to hold. And the driving decision for all of this is what's best for the 436 seniors. If we postpone things to the summer or Thanksgiving or even next year, I don't think I'm going to get all 436 to participate. And I don't know if I'm even going to be allowed to have assemblies of 500 people or even 1,000 people in the future. So to keep on postponing and kicking it down the road, I don't know if that's the best decision. So we came up with this hybrid model that we're going to try and do the virtual graduation so that everybody can see it streamed, but have the live portion. And we're working with the police, and we'll be working with the guidelines that are established. Maybe have the kids walk 1 minute apart, have a picture in front of the high school. We read their name. We can splice it all together and then have this real effect in essence. I think it's going to work. From what I heard from the community is the kids want to be in their tuxedos and gowns. They want their flowers. They want to be in front of Ridgewood High School like all the other people. It's just going to look different. But it's if you think about it, of course everybody wants to be outside, but every year I have to worry about rain. And sometimes it is inside. You do everything you can to make those adjustments. It's not the same. And this is not going to be exactly the same, but it's the best we could do with the current guidelines and expectations.
Right.
So would the community be open to, or the administration, if that's what happens and you have the video with each person individually, and then let's just say social distancing guidelines are lifted by the end of July, is it possible that then there would be the same traditional ceremony in addition?
It is a possibility. It's something we could definitely look into. But then I also know, just from talking to staff members, if they left all these things, I know a lot of them, some people are going on vacation already. Everybody wants to go down the shore. Some people already have plans for Europe that are still on hold. So all of a sudden, I don't have all the teachers. I don't have all the administrators. I don't have all the students. So now is it fair to have a graduation for 250 kids or 300? And then am I supposed to run a second one later on? It's really hard to think about everybody that's going to be involved in this,
Right.
and what's fair for everybody.
Right. So to me, the question that I love is, how do we open up restaurants in Ridgewood?
Right.
How do we somehow create the ability to get a haircut, social distance wise? How does life come back slow? Now, these are really difficult questions.
Yeah.
But one question stands above the others. One, there's 2,000 people in the Ridgewood High School.
Correct.
2,000 people in a school.
Right.
And somehow, if social distancing is still in effect, which it well may and be in September, can you give us a little teaser of, Jim, well, I'd love to just hear it because I can't even construe this.
Sure. We're looking at some models that other schools have been doing throughout the world and other places, and people, what they've been thinking about. Just to start off, we believe right off now, we think everybody's going to have to wear a mask all next year. We think people are going to be wearing gloves. There's even talk about every kid may have to get a temperature gauge. Like, I don't know if it's every day or throughout the day or something. There might be some apps that you might have to be able to show you how healthy you are and stuff. So that's a game changer unto itself. So the three ideas that we're coming up with is some kind of hybrid of what we have now. Do I have, like they did in the 70s when they were building BF, can I have an AM, PM schedule? Can I have half of the kids come in the morning, half of the kids come in the afternoon, and then the other half of the day would be virtual? Can I have 1/3 of the school come in at a time, and every 3 days you would come in for live in-person teaching, but the other 2 days you'd be getting virtual instruction by the same teachers?
Right.
So those are just two things off the top of my head.
The X factor, Tommy, the one X factor that's like, oh my gosh,
the
litigious world.
Correct.
I come to school, I picked up the coronavirus at Ridgewood High School.
Correct.
Who now is liable?
Correct. I'm sure the courts will be battling that one out for a long time, because how do you prove, where you picked it up? But you're absolutely correct. And on top of it, you have to worry about what teachers and students may be more susceptible than others. And do I have to make accommodations? So can a teacher still teach, but they have to teach from home because of medical reasons? And then what do I have to do? Put a substitute in the classroom? I have one of our administrators coming over here, and we're going to be measuring out the square footage of the different rooms to figure out how far I could space kids apart. The problem is in the 1919 wing, the original building, they're very tight rooms, and I don't know if I could fit 25 or 30 in that room. But in the newer wing, the 1999, I can fit 25 or 30 in the room and space them out maybe 6 feet apart. So I might have to look at like how many I can fit in parts of the building to accommodate. But again, it's going to depend on what the governor is going to say. And I don't know if the governor or the Department of Education is going to go to that degree and really dictate. I don't know. They haven't given us a lot of guidelines right as it is. They've just been swamped and overwhelmed, and every district's been trying to figure this out, unto themselves.
Yeah, amazing.
Are they saying anything to just school administrators as far as what they think the guidelines may be?
No, it's a big guessing game right now. And unfortunately, New York and New Jersey are the hardest hit. I just heard that New York just closed schools for the rest of the year. And they just said that it's a 50-50 chance kids are coming back in September in the New York schools. Nobody's saying anything like that in New Jersey yet. It all depends, on how the curve gets flattened and how we can maintain things. So for sports in the fall, and I know all the athletic directors are even talking about, how do they get a season in and maybe an abbreviated playoff system and get these games? Do you start a week or two earlier in August? Does that help us? But it depends on where the waves are with everything. But how do you have contact sports, or how do you have kids running into each other with COVID? They can't really wear a mask and breathe properly. These are extreme challenges, but nobody has an answer yet.
Yeah. So Herb Brooks walks into the locker room back in 1980, right? And the speech, right? But the end of the speech is so great. As he looks at these kids, the chin comes off their chest, and Brooks says, "You were meant to be here tonight. You were born to be a hockey player. You were born to be a principal. This is your time." Do you ever wake up in the morning and want to run away? And somehow there's something inside that belly called your gut, a fire that says, you know what? Because I happen to know you're a black belt. I happen to know you're one of the toughest guys physically. And I've taken 2 of your left hooks. I did slip one. But I know you're tough. But how do you sustain? We're all exhausted, Tommy. We've been staying home. You're triple exhausted. Somehow here on film, you look like Rocky on steroids. Where do you get the strength?
No, I appreciate that. You're exactly right. Of course, we're all built that way to fight or flight. And, you want to run. I have to admit, in the very beginning of this whole crisis, I felt a little guilty. I felt I wasn't affected. My family's home, things are going well, school's running well virtually, But and then as it started going on a little bit more and more and more, the work just piled up more and more and more, and harder decisions are being made. And now it's just 24 hours of doing this work. But you have a great support system here, from Dan Fishbein, our leader, Stacy Polstra, all my administrators, Basil and Jeff, my VPs here. They're doing an incredible job with all the teachers. So that keeps you going, because you need these decisions have to be made. But on top of that, you look at everybody else on the front lines, and you talk about anybody that's been in combat. Why do you do it? You do it for the person next to you. How could I run, or you run, coach, or anybody else run when you have all these people on the front lines? My nieces, they're in the hospitals working. My wife's best friend, who just got COVID because she's a nurse in another hospital. So if they're doing it, how could I let them down by not doing my part? And my role in this crisis right now is to continue the education of 2,000 people. And that's no small challenge. And how do we keep that all going? And keeping kids well, and keeping the teachers well, and everything like that. So running or hiding is not an option. I was taught that, in the defensive meetings back in 1985 and 6. You just don't do that. And others rise to the challenge, and we have to rise to a challenge as a community, as a school, but also as a nation, and fight this, because this is not going away in the next year. And unfortunately, I don't know what's going to happen 5 years from now. Are we going to have another pandemic or some other kind of catastrophe that's going to hit us? But we learn from this right now, and we continue to grow and evolve, and we're going to be even stronger for the next challenge.
Amazing.
Yeah.
Jocelyn, last question.
Yeah. So what lessons do you feel that we're learning collectively as a community, and do you feel like you're learning personally that you want to bring into your life in the future when this is over?
Sure. So in the midst of this, I just put a memo out to the staff, just some inspirational quotes. One of them is, "We stand at the vanguard of a shift in education." That was by this guy, Christensen. And we're shifting in education. Education is shifting. I don't know exactly how, because we're right in the storm. And it's hard to see things when you're in it. Until you have perspective, until you have a little bit of history, can you see where we're shifting and how it's going to change? And I look forward to this summer to really start to digest and process some of this stuff. So we've learned a lot already. We've already shifted a little bit in the past couple of weeks. Teachers have been growing and evolving and moving forward. Kubler-Ross, there's a change curve. Kubler-Ross has a change curve out there. And I really believe that our staff is in the second half of this change curve. You first go through denial and frustration and depression, and then you come out of it. You start to experiment. You start to make decisions, and you start to integrate new ideas and new things. And I'm starting to see everybody in the second half of this change. So what does that look like? What we've seen so far is more personalized learning, more differentiated learning, more people looking at the standards and what's really important, what do the kids have to learn and show proficiency in. So what does that look like now next year and in the subsequent years? I don't know exactly, but we're all talking, we're all reading the books, we're all sharing ideas with friends in Vermont to Massachusetts to here in New Jersey to really come up with what the best ideas are for the future of education.
It's incredible. Great. So they say, and this is Michael Gervais. We've talked about Michael Gervais. He's the mind coach for the Seattle Seahawks.
Yep.
And he works with the greatest athletes, business leaders. He works on this end, right? So the one thing he said about all great leaders, all people that not only survive hostile situations, but thrive in them, they have 4 traits. First, that they're calm. They have the ability to calm themselves and not panic, and that they portray an image of calmness. And that becomes almost like a contagious feeling.
Correct.
Number 2 is that they're focused, and they try to stay focused on the present moment. Although they have to plan, think
Correct.
about the future, but it's one day at a time. And you've done that. And then third, they are confident. And the confidence they have comes from a highlight reel of their past, that they've been there before, they've been through challenges, and they can relate to those. And then they constantly say to themselves, I got this, I can do it. And that triggers that old feeling. And the fourth one is a powerful state of gratitude. The gratitude for the opportunity they have, even if it's in the midst of firefight, the chance that they have to be a leader and be of service. I think all 4 of those qualities emulate exactly who you are. From the bottom of my heart, from every member of this rigid community, we can't thank you for being in the front lines, in the front lines when you easily, again, as we said before, could throw the towel in. You can scream Uncle Tom anytime you want, and we'd all say, look, how could anybody do this? But I know you don't. So we can't thank you enough for everything you're doing.
Well, I want to thank the 2 of you for this opportunity. I really appreciate that. And for, I know you're interviewing a lot of other people. I think it's just great. It's uplifting spirits. And what you just said there, Coach, those last 4 points and your last message right there, you're still inspiring me. You're still inspiring me. You're still motivating me. And that keeps me going. And maybe it is just a cycle. If everybody just watches everybody's back and keeps on inspiring and helping each other up when they're down a little bit, then we're all going to go move forward. And maybe that's what it's all about.
It's great.
I just want to ask you, Tom, what's the first fun and frivolous thing you want to do when this is all over?
I just said it's so simple. Like, I just miss going out to a restaurant and with friends or with my family and just, getting a corner table and just hanging out with the noise in the background. Just something so simple as that. But it's more about bringing people together. I think the biggest thing that we've all missed is the socialization aspect, whether it be with family or friends. It's texting and emails. It's just not the same as being together with good friends and just laughing and forgetting about all your cares and worries.
And favorite Netflix film that you've seen or documentary that you love?
That's a good one. I've been going back to just some of the other ones that just motivate me, from like Last Samurai to We Were Soldiers Once. We Were Young Once.
Right. What time do you wake up in the morning?
I've been sleeping in a little bit. I've been trying to. I get up by 7, so I sleep in.
Favorite sandwich?
I just had a Parkwood Deli sandwich, the New Jersey Devil.
And trigger song that you go to when Tommy's got to get going?
You know what? I've been thinking about Alanis Morissette's song, Thank You. It's just been eerily resonating with me lately, to really stop for the moment and really thank what we're grateful for. And, all these things that, despite the chaos, we're just filled with love and surrounded by love and a lot of people, and we're going to get through this.
And last one, and I'll let you go. The tattoo that you would put on your forearm to look at every morning, that you look at, what's the word, what's the saying, what's the go-to?
It would be something like, it would be a picture of Coach Stroker ripping his shirt apart with his face like that, and it would say, "Go get him." And that's what you got to do. You got to go get the day. Seize the day.
Well, Tommy, we can't thank you enough.
Thank you for the opportunity.
Thank
Take
you
care,
so
everybody.
much.
Okay.
All right, goodbye.
We'll stop here.